Hey everyone, I just wanted to share two quick things more on top of the Scan Deliver article. One is through the OSU library and one is simply about just reading research. So here I am. I just want to share a quick tip on to make sure that you're looking at a peer-reviewed journal. So if I go here at the OSU library to Autism in, let's go, middle childhood. So this will give us a list of articles. And again, we're only interested this time on articles. So you can see here article, ebook, article. It tells you what kind of reference it is. But here, if you go to just peer-reviewed journals, here we're down to just peer-reviewed journals. So you know everything on this list is a peer-reviewed journal. So when you're looking for your 2 or maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, how many articles you need to write the paper, you know here that you're looking at a peer-reviewed journal, which hopefully will help in this process. If you're confused at all, please just send me the article or the abstract or the title and I can help you out with that. So again, using the peer-reviewed journal option, which is on the left side under Show Only, peer-reviewed journals, and that'll help you understand that it's just a peer-reviewed journal. Another thing I wanted to share was looking at how to read a research article. And I'm sorry that if this is repetitious for you all, just for those that haven't had a lot of experience looking up and reading research articles, sometimes it's kind of daunting and confusing. So generally speaking, an article will have the abstract, which is a short summary of what the whole study did at the front. Then there's an introduction, which usually puts the article in the backdrop of what the study is about. So what's the context of it? And I'll go through basically a literature review of what has been done on this topic. So let's pretend here that you're interested in this sentence. Although the data are not consistent, there is evidence that a child with autism in a family can stress the marital relationship and decrease marital satisfaction. So you're interested in this. I often will go ahead and highlight things. You're like, wow, that sounds really interesting. And you see it's Blair et al. 1996 and Rodrigue, Morgan, and Gefkin 1990. So if you're interested in this, you wouldn't actually cite this article. You would actually go to the back and you look up Blair et al. And Rodrigue 1990. And you can see Blair right here. So what you do here is if you want to get this article, you could either go on the OSU library website and search it, or Google Scholar. And if Google Scholar or the OSU library website do not have this article, you can use the Scan and Deliver feature, which I outlined in the first video. Another way as you work through these articles is it really helps you give a backdrop. So oftentimes reading articles, you'll find things in the literature review that's interesting that you end up reading that adds to your paper. Then you're going to go through a methods section, which is basically talking about the sample and the measures that they used and the method in which they did it. So if it's qualitative, it's usually interviews, and then you'll hear something about coding, which is just looking at common themes. For quantitative data, you'll often hear regression or structural equation modeling and all these things. I'm not expecting you to understand all the statistics involved. It takes a long time, usually, especially with complicated papers, to understand what they're actually talking about. So you go through and you read about how they measured these things, and then you get to the results section. A lot of times you'll see the first descriptive statistics, which is usually the first table, and basically it just outlines means and standard deviations for the whole paper, and then it'll get into regression models, which is what they're really looking at is there a statistical difference between groups, or is a certain factor statistically significantly important? And as you read through here, this is what the article will say is the results. This is what they found based on the questions that they had earlier. And then at the end of the article is the discussion section where they talk about the results and they connect it back to the research that has been done. And oftentimes when you're new to reading research, it's great to use the discussion section as a jumping off point of what the results were saying. Sometimes the results are really complicated, you're not exactly sure what they found. Oftentimes the discussion section will kind of recap what they found, which is great. Another thing that I want to say is reading research articles, especially some of these, this one looked pretty complicated, was if you read an article and you're not quite sure what they found and you're not quite sure what you can say about it, please just email me the article and I can skim through and I can read through the article and see whether what you got out of it is what they were saying. It's a really complicated thing, so I completely understand if you're a little bit lost. That's what I'm here for. So if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, take care, everyone.